Jam everyone, this is Clement from Commit, and today I'm with Luc. Hey Luc, how's it going?
Hey there, how's it going?
I'm perfectly fine. What about you?
Super fine as well.
Fourth day of ETHCC, the last day, as you can hear right now. So I'm really honored to have you on the podcast. Could you tell everyone who are you and what you're doing?
Yeah, super happy to be here. So I'm Luc.eth. I'm the developer relations at ENS,
Yep.
and we've been here at ETHCC with the team. We've been printing cards, we've been onboarding people onto ENS, and onboarding people onto crypto in general.
Okay, so basically, this podcast will be about obviously onboarding people to the wonderful crypto world ecosystem. Could you develop what ENS is? So, what ENS is doing right now, and what does it mean for the one that still don't know? And how you get into this? I mean, you get into crypto.
Yeah. So ENS is the Ethereum name service. It is a decentralized naming protocol that essentially aims to solve a problem that a lot of people have, which is usability and wallet naming, if you will. So in the Web 2 world, there's DNS, there's domain names, and there's websites that you can host and all sorts of stuff like that with IP addresses and all sorts of complicated logic. And with ENS, we aim to simplify that and give the power back to the user by providing basically a human-readable name for their machine-readable address. So instead of having 0x225f13, etc., etc., I'm Luc.eth, and that's all you need to know. And then almost any dApp out there will be able to resolve from Luc.eth back to the address, and functionality is normal.
Okay. And what makes you? What brings you there? I mean, because ENS is something, it's pretty new. Even if there's like still 2 years now, something like that.
Yeah.
What brings you there?
So I got my journey started a long time ago playing Minecraft. Yeah, I know, it's a wild one. Got programming sins, started off a little job at a company working on making websites, building that kind of stuff, doing agency work. Did a bit of college, transitioned to doing proper consultancy for major corporations, working on business-to-business projects and that kind of stuff. And then I think a little while ago, last year or so, DevConnect Amsterdam came around.
Yeah, it was a great one.
It was a great one. I had just given a talk about passwordless authentication and never having to remember a password again and just pressing sign in with Ethereum, and that's it.
Yeah.
Some friends of mine had introduced me to crypto and had explained the entire Web3 ecosystem and had made me super excited. And then later down that month, end of April, I got to DevConnect, and it was a super huge vibe, just like ACC here.
Yeah.
I was immediately crypto pilled, and I was like, I love this, I want this, working in the public, traveling, being able to talk at conferences, and making a difference at a larger non-business to business scale in the world.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, I got in contact with ENS, and we ended up hitting it off pretty well. And then since then, I've been there.
Okay, so they were poaching you.
For sure.
Okay, so you are the real OG. That's why I wanted to have you on this podcast. We often hear about user-friendly crypto experience and adoption. Can you explain how ENS contribute to making more user-friendly adoption and you get more mass adoption? Because right now, in my opinion, it's still really too complicated for the rest of the people.
Yeah. So when you look at it from an onboarding perspective, a lot of users set up their first wallet, use MetaMask or Rainbow or Frame or something along the lines, or get their first hardware wallet, their Ledger or their Trezor.
Which is still complicated.
Still complicated.
You have to download every application.
Yep, and you have to remember words, and you have to save them somewhere. And obviously there's people working on making solutions that now with Apple introducing passkeys and WebAuthn and all that cool stuff. But at the end of it, it all boils down to you have an address and you have funds that are allocated to said address. So on the Ethereum blockchain or on Polygon or on Optimism or on whatever chain you are on, we keep track of which funds you have using addresses. And addresses are cool. They're machine optimized and they're very fast, but unfortunately they're not the most friendly human readable.
Yeah.
And ENS gives us the ability to basically abstract it away for the user and still ensure that the authenticity of the original user is there. So when I'm sending funds to command F d.eth, I will know that it's going to the right person because I know that it resolves to the address and that it was set up by you.
Yeah.
As well as be able to store other kinds of user information. So profile picture or banner, and then you're basically able to take your Web3 identity across the space with you anywhere you go. So any dApp you sign in with your wallet, whether that is MetaMask, or whether that is Rainbow, or whether that is Frame or Family, or you name it, the dApp will understand that you have a wallet address, will look up your ENS name, and then will provide you with a super smooth user experience.
Okay, so you're the I don't find any equivalent in the web too, but yeah, you're transforming the complex address.
Yep.
That no one can read and or even remember into something easy to remember. You can even name yourself whatever you want, like big taco fat guy.eat.
Yep.
And this is something that you can share. It's like an ID on the blockchain Ethereum, on the
For sure.
Ethereum blockchain. Okay, yeah. What do you think are the biggest challenges facing widespread crypto and blockchain adoption, and how does ENS fit this?
So obviously, we have the whole address to name situation and being able to carry information with you wherever you go. So ENS aims to simplify this for users and make it a lot nicer. We're an open protocol and we're a public good. And all of the funds that we receive are also put back into the community, back into other public goods, as well as funding the protocol. And what ENS does is essentially makes us have a digital backpack that we can take wherever we go, to whichever dApp we go. Users aren't limited to having one name. They can have 10, they can have 200 identities if they so choose, and basically be synonymous and somewhat privacy preserving across every application they go to.
Okay. And I know it can be a bit weird to ask that, but what is the main difference between ENS, for example, and unstoppable domains?
Yeah. So ENS is originally started off by Nick Johnson. A little while ago, it started off as an Ethereum Foundation grant, and then kind of spun off into its own thing. And the real power behind ENS is that it's truly decentralized and trustless.
Okay.
What this means is that there's smart contracts that govern how names are issued, how names are moved from A to B, and how transferring works, etc. And there is no way for anyone to potentially take your name, or for it to be compromised, or for something else to happen to it. Once you own the name, you own the name, and there's nothing I can do about it or anyone else can.
Okay. Could you explain a little bit about how developers can interact with ENS right now, and perhaps build on top of it or integrate it into any dApp or whatever they want?
For sure. So
You are a DevRel. So
as DevRel, yeah, for sure.
Easy question.
I handle most of the documentation, most of the integration, most of maintaining libraries and helping maintainers out, make sure that everything's up to date. And we're in a very fortunate position because ENS is such a widely used standard. It is an official Ethereum standard, an Ethereum improvement proposal. And almost every single library out there that supports Ethereum and that supports querying EVM information has dedicated functions for fetching ENS info. So if you're building front end and you're using WACME, or if you're building back end and maybe you're in Go or you're in Java or you're in .NET, there will be functions available that you can just do use ENS name or get ENS name or get ENS avatar or get me the Discord record, and all of it magically is integrated in the applications you already use to interface with Ethereum. So there's no need to install anything extra. It just works right out of the box.
Great. And so one use case, give me an example.
Yeah, so a good example would be blockchain explorers or marketplaces, where we can show vast amount of users in a very small screen. So people who've collected a POAP, or people who transacted a certain NFT back and forth, or everyone that holds a certain token. On those kinds of pages, or during governance with voting results, instead of showing a whole bunch of addresses, 42 characters, hexadecimal, and who knows what they actually mean, we're able to really quickly let users identify, oh, that's Luc.eth, and oh, that's Clement, and be able to know who is who. as well as make it super easy for users to input information. So if I wanted to send you something and I wanted to send you some DAI or an NFT or send you a name perhaps, I could just open up my wallet, press send, and instead of asking you for 42 characters and then making sure I spell it right, I just type in your ENS name, your .eth or your .xyz, your .com, you name it, because we're completely DNS compatible. Or even your lens name perhaps, your Argent name, your CBID, you name it, any of the sorts, and send it right to you. It's super sweet.
Super sweet. What do you see ENS hitting in the next couple of years? Are there... I know that this is something usually people don't want to disclose because it's still alpha or beta, but improvement on the roadmap that you're particularly excited about?
For sure. So one of the things I was most excited about is that for the longest time we've had a very small team. Now that we finally started upscaling, we've put a lot of work into our manager application. So as you'll see on ens.app or app.ens.domains, we've recently upgraded our manager, and it's 1,000,000 times more user-friendly. It's mobile compatible, and it allows you to manage your names in a way more nicer fashion. Obviously, we have that, and we're constantly performing upgrades on the manager and publishing it. And the manager is also available over IPFS in a decentralized fashion using your ENS name. Over the next years, if you will, the major things on the roadmap, if you'd like to see those, is around ens.domain/roadmap as well. Is we're reworking ENS.js, which is our extra utility. So if you'd like to fetch extra information about names that isn't integrated in every library already, there's that tooling available. It's a bit more opinionated of an approach, but it's super sweet as well. So if you'd like to build a dApp where you can list all the names a user has or easily let users suggest updating records or storing certain information, this enables us to store zero-knowledge proofs. For example, proof that you come from a certain country or proof that you are over 18, and then users will be able to store that information in their name if they choose to do so, and then utilize those records wherever they want.
Okay.
As well as ENS on layer 2.
Okay.
So we're working together with a fair bit of chains to try and make sure that we can allow users to super seamlessly transition from storing all their records on L1 and keeping track of all their information, and to be able to update it, having to pay gas fees on L1 and all of that stuff, to be able to basically delegate their name to a certain chain and say, I would like to update my records on Optimism from now on, or I would like to update my records on ZKVM from now on, or on ZK-Sync. Obviously, just to name a few, there's a ton more chains out there.
And there are probably so many.
Yeah,
but
those are just some of the top of my head.
Yeah.
So our manager also is getting some more upgrades, so you'll super seamlessly be able to swap between chains, swap between delegating permissions to other addresses. So if you'd like to set up recovery or anything of the sorts.
And do you think, how do you picture ENS as a standard for account abstraction?
Yeah, so obviously account abstraction is like the hot topic right now.
Yes.
The EF is pushing it crazily, and we just gone through the merge. We've made major protocol changes, and now our focus is on like how can we make it easier for users to have accounts and to recover them as well. Obviously, we have some pioneers like Metropolis and Gnosis and Argent, who've been working on making wallets that are smart contracts and that have modular logic for being able to have authentication work in a certain way, or approval of transactions in a certain way, so people can use their phone, or people can use their ledger, or people can use fingerprint, or you name it, to be able to authorize transactions, and it's completely up to them. ENS aims to build, or at least ENS Labs does, to build tooling that will enable anyone who's building account abstraction tools to basically snap their fingers and say, ta-da, anybody that uses Gnosis or anybody that deploys a smart contract wallet automatically has an ENS name or an ENS subdomain or anything of the sorts. But because of how the protocol works, basically you can give control of a name to a smart contract. That could be a wallet, but that could also be an abstracted account. That could be just some smart contract with arbitrary logic. And then that smart contract has full control over the records, over subnames, et cetera, et cetera. So this enables us to build cool experiences where if you sign up for a WorldCoin account, or if you sign up for or deploy a Gnosis safe, that you automatically have a subname or are automatically set, and it will automatically load all the extra information in your little digital backpack.
Great. So you mentioned the subname, and this is really interesting. So it does work like a subdomain.
Yep.
So basically, so your ENS is Luc.eth.
Correct.
You can have, I don't know, I like croissant
Hmm.
dot Luc.eth.
Yep.
And someone can also send you funds, tokens, whatever they want through this subname.
Correct.
Oh, this is awesome.
Yes. So if a user has Luc.eth or whatever their preferred name is, we have multiple ways they can go about it, and we've tried to build tooling to make this super easy for non-developers as well. So by default, we have our super simple system for creating basic subdomains. So you can go into the ENS manager, ens.app, and basically set up different sub-profiles of your name.
Yep.
So a couple colleagues of mine do this very heavily. I like having everything on Luc.eth. It's completely up to you. But if you wanted to, you can make a subdomain for POAPs, where you collect all your POAPs, or a subdomain where you're a signer on this huge multisig, or a subdomain with which you exclusively receive USDC, or do X, Y, and Z, and basically nicely partition your life in such a way. So if you want to have that kind of organization, you can super easily do so. And now recently, we've released the name wrapper.
Okay.
Ooh, I'm losing my voice a little bit.
First day of it.
Oh, yeah.
The last day.
Tons of talking.
Yes.
Meeting lots of great people. It's been super exciting. So yeah, the name wrapper is basically a bit of tooling that we built that allows anybody to, in a trustless fashion, basically give a guarantee to others of subdomains. So I could own a super cool name like helloworld.eth, and then if I wanted to give you a subdomain, I can give you an NFT, clement.helloworld.eth, and then basically give you certain guarantees or burn certain fuses, if you will, to be able to prove to you that there's no way I can take it away from you anymore.
Okay.
So once the name is wrapped using the name wrapper, you can basically give such guarantees, and you can give out subdomains of very popular names, such as like email.eth or web.eth or those kinds of things. So if you wanted to, you can basically give out subdomains to people or sell subdomains or give out subdomains to anyone who holds an NFT or anything of the sorts, and give them certain guarantees that even you, as the manager of such name, are unable to take it away from them or modify their records without their explicit consent.
Like Argent did with their wallet, for example, or Coinbase.
Yep.
This is how it works.
Yes. So they have written their own code, so they've taken full control, and they've done all sorts of super cool stuff with smart contracts. But if a user wants to do it, the name wrapper is super simple. It just has buttons, and you can control it completely from the manager. We have a couple super cool parties already in the space that are utilizing subdomains to their fullest extent.
Yeah.
A great example, like you mentioned, is Argent. Argent issues subdomains to anybody who uses the wallet for argent.xyz.
Yep.
So they've imported argent.xyz, the DNS name, into the ENS protocol. It's just a simple verification. And then they've written a smart contract that gives people the ability to have a subdomain, as well as automatically resolve all sorts of information about their wallet. So their profile picture or their extra information like their Twitter or their Telegram or anything the user might want to provide and make public. Another great example is Coinbase, who deployed CB.ID. And any Coinbase user or Coinbase wallet user, must I say.
On their, the non-custodial wallets,
Correct.
Not the application. For
Yes.
those that are like exploring it, it's two different applications.
Yes. So if you use the Coinbase wallet, you'll be able to get a cb.id subdomain automatically issued to you, or you can request which one you'd like. And they take a similar approach. They're using another EIP 3668, technological things, but basically it's the cross-chain interoperability protocol that allows us to load information from other locations than L1. So with Coinbase, for example, they've got some super cool stuff in the works, but they give out subdomains to users the same way Argent does and the same way Lens does. And you'll be able to have your subdomain without having to pay any gas fees or interact with L1 at all, which is super awesome and makes onboarding way nicer for the end user, because the requirement for having mainnet fees and paying whatever the gas fees are to register second layer.eth or second level.eth, so Luc.eth or hello.eth, they're basically gone. So anybody can now register a subname, which is super sweet.
Okay, so From now on, we have talked about the ENS, how it is, how it looks like, how it works, but for the user, like how all these things, sorry, works. Like for example, I go to ens.com, right, and then
ENS.app.
.app. Sorry,
Mhm.
I'm
No worries.
I'm sorry about that. Let's hope that you will get the .com in the future. So .app. And then what's next? Like, what do people need, and what can they do when they've registered their name? It's like registering a domain on any platform like GoDaddy or I don't know whatever they want. It's
Mhm.
like the same thing. You register your ENS, but what's next? What can you do with it? What kind of information you can do, and most importantly, like for how long do you have this domain? Because it's probably not forever. And like, could you develop this point?
Yeah, of course. So ENS aims to be a resolution protocol, which means that depending on what the setup of your name is, what is specifically in your name, it'll go a certain route, and it will basically traverse through smart contracts to resolve your information. So with Coinbase, with CB.ID, it'll go to the .id registrar, and then it will reach to Coinbase's CB.ID, and then their smart contract logic. But what I'm about to explain specifically pertains to .eth names.
Yes.
So as ENS, we have deployed the ETH registrar. The ETH registrar is a contract in charge of issuing .eth subnames, if you will, names. So Luc.eth and Clement.eth, etc., etc. And basically, the way that it works is it allows anybody to register a name. We have some pricing for the name, and the reason for that is because otherwise somebody would just be able to pay a lot of gas fees and register every single name possible. So there's a renewal fee associated with every name.
So is this part of the business model of ENS?
I think business model might be
You say
the
it's
wrong word, but yeah, it's an open protocol.
Yeah.
So basically, what's going on is because ENS was made a fair while ago, and because as of right now, the tooling for proof of humanity and proof of personhood and being able to basically give a unique name to every single person has been a bit of an impossible task, because how do you verify someone is a person in a trustless and fair way where we don't see race, we don't see sex, and we don't see origin or nationality?
Yeah.
Because we aim to be a protocol that is equal and accessible to all. So anybody that wants to register an ENS name will be able to reach the ETH registrar. 5-character or more names are $5 a year. We have a bit of adjusted pricing for 4 and 3 because there's exponentially less of them. And then for $5 a year, you have your own .eth name, and you're able to issue as many subdomains as you like.
Okay.
It simply is a bit of gas fees, but
But
that's it.
Yeah, you have to pay the gas fees
Yes.
each time you want to register a subdomain.
Yep. Unless you deploy a smart contract and write some logic in there, but then you have to be a programmer. So otherwise, it's gas fees, but that's okay.
Yeah, for the regular one, you have
Yep.
to just pay for the gas fees. Pretty
Yes.
easy. Sign the transaction, you get your subdomain.
For sure. And then very important to mention, all of the renewal fees that users pay don't go to us as ENS Labs. They go to the ENS DAO. This is an initiative we set up a little while ago, and we've basically written a constitution and made some very clear rules about the ENS protocol and future governance. And it is of utmost importance that all of the renewal fees that the ETH registrar produces go directly back into the DAO and get redistributed across the ecosystem. So used to fund the ENS protocol, as well as public goods and other kinds of cool projects in the space that are innovating and that are trying to make a difference in the world.
Great, awesome. Well, to wrap up, to summarize, for anyone who is interested in using ENS, where should they start, and the most important thing, what is the advice you would give to someone who wants to start their journey with ENS?
Yeah. If you're starting your journey with ENS or just in Web3 in general, head to ens.app and you'll be able to register a name there. If you have the Coinbase wallet, or if you're an Argent user, or if you have a Lens name, you'll be able to use one of those, so a CB.ID or an Argent.xyz or Lens.xyz name. If you would like to have a .eth, ens.app is the place to be. 5 characters or more, it's going to be $5 a year. and you'll be able to set your information, set a profile picture, set it as your primary name, and then any dApp you visit from that point on will know your name, will have your profile picture, and will have a beautiful made profile ready for you.
Thank you very much, Luc. Thank you very much for your time too. Hope you had a great time at ETHCC and see you like next year.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.